Okay, do you have a creative person in your life who's kind of impossible to buy for? An artist or an art student, a designer, a knitter, crafter, shrinky-dink maker, just generally artistic person. I'm the first to admit, sometimes it's hard to know what a creative person would really want or be able to use. Last year, I put together a deeply exhaustive list of things that any artist or maker or creative would genuinely like. I had a ton of fun putting it together, and I've been making notes all year for things to add to this year's list. I pulled a ton of really specific ideas of things that span the gamut in interest and medium and age and price point and skill level. I tried to cover all the bases. We've got some really specific supply ideas if you want to get something your creative would actually use to make, and also just some quality of life things that make any studio or making space better. So let's get into it. Real quick, if we're just meeting, I'm Janelle. I'm a freelance graphic designer, and this is my space to talk about design and freelance life and how to have a creative career without losing your soul. So if that sounds like your bag, hit subscribe because I'd love to hang out again. Also, before we start, I just want to name that I know the world is kind of nuts right now. Things feel really expensive, and any kind of gift list can feel a little bit tone deaf given the state of everything. I was a little bit torn of what to even feature here, but ultimately I decided to go ahead and include some big ticket items that would blow someone away if that's what you're looking for, but also a lot of things in the 5 to 20 USD range that might not be things someone thinks of themselves, but would really make their creative life better. To that end, last week I did a huge deep dive on DIY gifts that any creative person could make for the people in their life, and I have a whole section there for handmade gifts for artists and creatives. So head over there if you want some good ideas for handmade things your creative would love, instead of feeling like you have to buy everything. Okay, on to the list. The first no-brainer category of presents for any creative are books. Books for creatives kind of fall into 4 main categories. There are books about the creative process, things that encourage you when you're struggling with your creative work and you need help and guidance in your artistic journey. I always start someone with Austin Kleon's books because they're a really approachable way of addressing creativity, but there are a ton of good ideas in this general space. Then there are instructional books for your creative's medium or area of interest. Obviously, this is going to be tailored to your specific creative and their interest, but there are so many great books that are really helpful, useful tools for learning in any particular path. Getting someone books that say, hey, I know you're interested in diving into the subject matter, and I'm going to help you find good resources to learn more and really dive in head first. That's a really nice present. And then there's the category of history books. This could be really specific to the interest of your particular creative, like this incredible history of type book that would blow the socks off of any graphic designer. Or maybe you dive into a branch of art history that they might not be familiar with. I love this Great Women Artists book that gives me so many stories of women throughout history that I didn't know about. These are great references for any creative, and they can be slightly more big-ticket books that you might not buy for yourself, but would make a really lovely present for any aspiring creative who wants to learn about their history. Finally, there's the very wide sea of just beautifully designed coffee table books. I don't know a single creative who doesn't like to just surround themselves with just beautiful imagery. These are the kinds of things that you don't always buy for yourself, but they're just lovely to look at. They're great to pull out for references, and it's just nice to have beautiful things to ping off of. There are way too many ideas to name, but you can do things that are very broad, like this Pantone book that goes through the history of the 20th century in color. Or speak to someone's interest, like this beautiful book on the art of national parks. There are so many ways you can give gorgeous books that would speak to any creative. I love talking about books so much that I have an entire playlist where I gush about really specific book recommendations in different tracks within the creative field. So if you want some really specific ideas for your creative, go there next for a lot of good recommendations. But in the meantime, let's keep going because we got a lot of ground to cover. The next broad category are supplies, which I'm defining as anything that helps your creative actually make something. If you're not entirely sure of specifics, but you want to get them something that helps encourage their creative pursuit, get them a gift certificate to a specific art supplier. That way they can choose the exact things that they want, but you're narrowing the focus and saying, no, I really want to put this towards your creative supplies. If they're any kind of fine artist, get them a certificate to something like Rosemary & Co. or Treacle, which make really wonderful brushes and supplies that are really lovely and a little bit more elevated than they would probably do on their own. If you want to go a little bit broader though, all local and national art supply stores, Dick Blick is a big one in the United States, for example, all have gift cards, and that way you can give them something that is a little bit more targeted than just like here's some money, but it still gives them a lot of range of motion to get exactly what they've been dreaming of. It's a good place to start. But if you want to get specific, there is nothing better than being gifted supplies that you might not have bought for yourself, especially if your creative is anything like me and they hoard on to student-level supplies that they've been using for the last 10 years. Just a fresh set of pencils or paints can be really inspiring. Even something in a medium that they don't normally use can be a way of forcing them to play a little bit and get out of their comfort zone. And that can be a really nice present. So I'm going to blast through a few of my favorite products in a few different mediums. So that way, if you're looking for a specific recommendation, I've got you covered. For a basic starting point, you really can't go wrong with a good set of Prismacolor sketching pencils and a sketch pad. That's a good place for any person to just start building their art supply list. If you're a creative like watercolor, there are so many cool supplies that would really elevate their game. Daniel Smith is a good classic choice for just beautiful paints across the board if you just want a really nice set of watercolors. But there are also some really wonderful independent makers that are making beautiful handmade watercolor that would make an incredible gift. I love these from Latvia and these that are made in Italy. These would be beautiful presents if you want something really special. Or you could give them a ceramic palette set that would really elevate their game and be really lovely. I love the Holbein or Himi gouache sets. The Caran d'Ache line of artist pastels are incredible. Or you could get them brush pens like these ones from Fabre Castel. The world of alcohol markers is absolutely blowing up. You could get them this beautiful Ohuhu set, along with a really cool holder, and that would be an incredible present that they probably wouldn't justify buying for themselves. Throw in a pretty coloring book and you will have a very happy creative on your hands. Another artistic space that is blowing up right now is the world of fountain pens. This is a deep dive you can go down, but there are some good places to start. I like the Lamy Safari pen, and there's also the Twisbi Eco that I've heard good things about. If you want a good starting point fountain pen for them to kind of get their toes in, there's also a whole world of fountain pen accessories. Beautiful inks and grips and funky pen rests. And I've seen a really cool book where you can do swatches of different inks. All of this stuff would make a really cool present if someone is a real nerd about fountain pens. And if you want to really blow their socks off, there's this incredible advent calendar that's just different kinds of fountain pen ink. This is a whole world you could really dive down if you wanted to. And then there's the world of sketchbooks. You can never have too many. And there's some really cool producers right now that are making some beautiful books of different styles that any creative would be happy with. I'll put my favorites in the description so you can do a little digging, but any one of these would make any creative very happy. There's also some fun sketchbook accessories that are, again, things that you wouldn't always think of for yourself, but if someone gave them to you, they'd be really nice. I love these Penco clips. They're designed to hold the pages of your sketchbook down so you have a flat surface when you're drawing, and that's not something you would always think of, but it's really nice when someone gives it to you. These are really cheap, but they're beautiful and they're really specific to drawing. There are pen holders and book straps and stencils for different elements and page clips to keep different sections together. All of these things are really not expensive, but they really elevate the experience if you have someone who loves sketchbooks. In the same vein, if your creative loves fiber arts like knitting or crocheting, there's some really cool accessories that would definitely elevate their experience that they probably don't have. These bowls that hold your yarn and make it easier to pull out without tangling are super cool. You can elevate their actual tools, like these really beautiful soft touch crochet hooks that make the experience a lot nicer. Or this interchangeable needle set that makes changing needles while you're knitting a lot easier. This is a slightly more next level thing, but a lot of knitters might not even know that's an option. The same way with these machines that wind your yarn up, or pretty markers that help you count your stitches. Or get them a caddy or an organizer to keep all their yarns and projects together. That would be really nice. Or just buy them cool yarn. All the knitters in my life love these sugar and cream yarns, and I think that would be a big hit. Likewise, if your creative is into sewing, here are some really good quality of life upgrades that they probably don't have. Like beautiful pattern weights or pin cushions. Or a pin cushion that magnetizes to your sewing machine so you don't ever lose your pins. Seam guides and bobbin organizers. These are all little things that are really useful to the sewing process. But I guarantee their favorite present would be a really nice pair of fabric scissors and a case to keep them in, to keep them away from the peasant scissors so they don't get tainted. Any sewer would know that that is the best present you can possibly give them. If your creative loves to travel, you can get them some really cool supplies to make it easier to stay creative and keep working even when they're traveling. These pocket watercolor palettes have blown up all over social media, and they're super adorable. There's some really beautiful heritage-made ones, and then there's some cheaper versions if you want something a little bit less extreme. But any kind of pouch or organizer or small little sketchbooks like field notes would make a really nice present for any creative who likes to travel. My gold standard in this category is this family-owned small business called Peg and All. They make beautiful canvas rolls for all of your different art supplies, and they're not cheap, but they're really beautiful if you want something really special in this space. Next, we have the world of tech. If your creative does any kind of digital work, they probably already have the big ticket thing that they use to make the work, like a computer or an iPad. But there are so many accessories and things that make their experience better, and there are also digital subscriptions or gift cards that you can give them to the things that they use on a regular basis. I know that can kind of get into like generic gift card territory, but there are some really expensive digital services that are a part of any kind of creative work if you are doing things on the computer. And being able to say, hey, I recognize that this thing you're doing is expensive, but I want you to be able to keep doing it. I want you to push out and learn and try your hand at things. Giving someone a subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud, for example, even for just a month or two, is something they probably are going to need to buy anyway, and it's a really nice way of saying, I see you, I see that this is important to you, and I want to help you do it a little bit easier. That'd be really nice. If they do any kind of digital drawing on an iPad, there are a few accessories that make the experience just a little bit better. There's some bigger things like a swivel stand or a sketchboard that turns your iPad into a bigger drawing surface. It makes it a lot easier to do large projects. But there's also some small stuff, like a drawing glove that helps you not smudge the screen, or pen nibs so you can switch them out because they always get destroyed, or a pen grip that makes it a lot easier to use an Apple Pencil. I love the paper-like screen protector. It changes the surface of your tablet and makes it a lot easier to draw on. This is a little thing that really improves your drawing game if there's someone that really likes to do a lot of drawing on their iPad. Also, I talked about this last year, but I am obsessed with these mocked phone cases. This is not sponsored, although I would love it to be, but I've been using it all year, and it's my favorite thing. They MagSafe right onto my phone, and they can be used on so many different directions, and I'm constantly using it to film, to use for reference, to just hold when I'm watching a movie. I only have the phone one, but they also have an iPad version that I would very much like if anyone in my life is watching. And I think that would make a really great present for any person who does a lot of digital drawing. There are also a few tech upgrades for their studio that would help add to their quality of life. Things like a really nice ergonomic mouse, or I have this really beautiful lamp I splurged on once that I love having on my desk. It makes really beautiful light just in general, but it's designed to be a ring light that holds your phone so that you can position it over your work while you're drawing and be able to record really easily and get process shots of your making anything. That's a really nice upgrade to any kind of studio space in the tech world. Lastly, I've been obsessed with this little gadget that just came out called Nix. It's a little disc that you hold in your hand, but you can hold it onto any object in physical space, and it will tell you the digital color code in a hex number, so that then you can translate any physical color that you're seeing into a computer. If you have any designer or color nerd in your life, this would blow their minds. It's not cheap, but I am seriously thinking about buying one for myself. The next category are things for the studio. This is my favorite type of gift for any creative because we don't often think about our own spaces. We're just kind of make do. But if someone gives you a really practical, useful object to make your quality of life better as you're making and creating, it's saying, hey, I see you. I see the things you like to create and the things you want to make, and I want to make your day a little bit brighter. That's a beautiful sentiment. There are a lot of little tangible, affordable things that would make any studio or workspace or crowded desk in the corner of a living room just a little bit better to be in. And it's not things we think about all of the time. So here are some of my favorite ideas. The very best idea is just good supply storage. Every creative person, no matter what they do, has a ton of stuff. And anything you can do to help them elevate their organization and supply storage is just so kind. The internet is obsessed with these hay crates that come in all these different colors and sizes. They pack down flat, they're pretty cheap, and they're really nice to move around and organize a lot of different supplies. I love these beautiful Japanese toolboxes. Any creative will find something to fill them in, and there's something about them that just feel really old school and solid. If they have a lot of markers or pens, get them a storage rack to see all of their pieces out in the open. That's something they probably cobbled together instead of having a really elevated solution, and something that's a little bit nicer is just a really nice gift. There's really an endless amount of caddies and carts and organizer boxes and pouches and cases for any kind of supply, small or large. And anything you can do to help someone organize something beautifully is just really nice. Second category category are just studio improvements, little quality of life things that make everyday life a little bit better. Yeah, you probably have a crappy set of scissors, but what about a really nice set that's dedicated only to your fancy papers? A really beautiful to-do list or memo pad that you keep on your desk so you can always remember what to do. A stand for your headphones so you have a place to put them when you come to the studio. I love these beautiful book stands for reference books. You could keep it on your desk so you always see something that you're inspired by, or if you're actually using something as a reference in a project, it's a really nice little upgrade. A visual timer, like a Pomodoro timer, so you can actually track your work sessions and remember to rest, is a really kind present. By far my favorite little upgrade to any workspace are upgrading their pens and pencils. I don't mean art supplies, I mean the things that you use to write around. Getting rid of all the crappy little pens that you got from a bank and upgrading them to a couple of really nice, non-expensive, but quality pens really adds to your experience. I could sing sonnets to my favorite Blackwing pencils. As soon as I upgraded every pencil in my studio to these, I have never been able to go back. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but they are the perfect pencil. They're perfect to hold, they have interchangeable erasers that you can swap out for extras, and they're just beautiful. If you really want to go the extra mile, you could get them the extra eraser set, or their really beautiful pencil sharpener that goes with the set. There are even little pencil rests, so you always have one handy. These are not needed things, but they really elevate the experience. If they're the kind of nerd that likes collecting washi tape, get them a really beautiful holder. There are some really cool little tools that help you cut washi tape easily or keep all of your collection ordered. These are kinds of things that are just really nice. Or just think about things that make the experience of being in your creative space more cozy. My mother gave me this beautiful cashmere wrap that I keep on my chair, so when I get chilly, I wrap it around. I keep a pair of slippers under my desk, so when my feet are cold, I have them ready to go. They stay in my studio, and I never have to think about them. Those are really nice upgrades. Give them a lovely diffuser or a candle that they can keep in their studio, but then give them a lighter and a really pretty wick trimmer so that you elevate the candle experience. You can put together a little personal care package with lotion and chapstick and things that you don't think about keeping in your studio, but when it's dry and cold, it's really nice to have. That would be what? $10, but it's a really thoughtful present. Give them the supplies to have a little coffee or beverage station in their studio area. Or give them a subscription to a coffee service so that every month they have fresh beans. Or a snack box so they have studio snacks every month. How cool would that be? The sky is really the limit here. The point is to think about things that would just elevate their daily experience of making in ways that they wouldn't do for themselves. Finally, we have the category of creative life. I think one of the hardest parts of being any kind of artist or maker, especially if you're doing it for your living or even part-time for your living, is that there's always a pressure to make every creative thing for something, to make it a thing that you monetize and make money off of, or at least have some sort of beautiful end product to show off. It's pretty easy to lose that joy of just playing around and having fun making stuff, which is probably how they got into it in the first place. If you can give someone a gift that encourages them to just create for fun, to make silly things that they don't need to sell, that they don't need to think about a lot, but are just fun little crafts or a wacky little project, anything that encourages them to play around and be creative is just a really beautiful present. I did a whole video that I'll link on really clever hobby kits, fully packaged creative projects that someone has made. Some that are a little bit more serious and help you learn a new medium with all of the supplies you'd need, and some that are just downright silly and just get you to goof off making something fun. There's a wide spectrum of them, but any one of those kinds of kits would make a really great present for any creative person, because it kind of pushes them into something they might not do for themselves. I love these ones from the Craft Club Co., for example, because instead of having a subscription, you can choose an individual kit, and they have some wild different options. I'm obsessed with these moss coasters, and I really want to make one soon. But really, any kind of creative project that just lets someone play is really awesome. If you've been on the creative internet in the last year or two, you might have heard of a book nook. These are whole little miniature worlds that someone can easily build that tuck into their bookshelf and just are magical. They don't really serve a purpose, they're just a lot of fun to put together, kind of like a different version of a Lego set. This is the kind of thing that any creative would just enjoy playing around with. In the same vein, there are beautiful adult coloring books and gorgeous puzzles and games that just encourage creative play without you needing to actually make something impressive in the end. Anything like this is really nice. Finally, if you're looking for a last-minute gift, consider a really thoughtful gift certificate. You could get them a certificate to a framing store so that they could frame some of the artwork that they've made. That's beautiful. Or get them a subscription to a learning platform like Skillshare or the New Masters Art Academy, something that encourages them to keep learning. Or get them live classes in your local area so that they're encouraged to actually go to a sewing class or a ceramic studio. A lot of local art studios offer classes in a lot of different types of things, so you could get them a subscription to one particular place, but then let them choose what they want to learn. That's just a really wonderful gift, and something that I think a lot of people wouldn't do for themselves. Anything that continues to encourage them to keep playing and exploring and experimenting is the point of the whole thing. So I hope I threw out some ideas that got your brain going. I'm already starting my list for next year, so if you have any ideas for things I didn't cover, let me know because I would love to include them. I'll put the links to everything I recommended in the description, but if you want even more ideas, watch last year's video here. See you there!